idea of co-creation is the main topic of this event. What does it mean?
Right. Co-creation is the process by which business experts or organization experts get together with technology experts to create business and digital transformation. This cannot be done by a single person. Many times cannot be done even by a single organization. You have to put together the deep knowledge of the business with the deep knowledge of technology. So Fujitsu is creating a standardized co-creation practice by using a well-defined set of tools, basically data, AI, IoT, cloud, and security, putting consultants around this, and then being ready to go and engaging with the business or organization experts.
How does your strategy work together with customers and partners in the line of the idea of co-creation?
Right. Actually, you mentioned the partners, and this is an important part. I already mentioned our toolbox for co-creation. And of course, the professional consultants don't need to be Fujitsu employees. They can be, and they will be in many cases, the partner personnel. So our strategy is to make clear to the customers initially in main sectors like retail, banking, public administration, that we are ready to help. And then depending on the case, it will be different partners or Fujitsu. In each one of these tools in the toolbox, Fujitsu has IP and Fujitsu has results of its own R&D, let's say. So for example, in IoT, we have a framework called Globe Ranger, which is a framework that contains sensors, it contains edgeware, it contains wearables, it contains all kinds of physical instruments, but also it contains specific dashboards, which is the way you actually put together all the information so that managers of, let's say, a factory can track and see the data in all its elements. Same in AI. In AI, Fujitsu has IP because we have produced APIs that produce some results. So for example, I was mentioning earlier in my presentation about recognition of cars or recognition of people. And actually a consequence of recognizing cars is that with a simple camera, not even with sensors or anything, you can figure out if a particular parking has free spaces. Now, if you operate such a parking, you don't need to spend very expensive sensors. You just put a camera, and at each moment, you can do this once a second or every time a new car comes into parking. Through your application in the cloud, you call the API, send a picture. What you get back is how many of your spaces are available. So these elements in IoT, in AI, in security, of course in the cloud itself, are available from Fujitsu. And when you put this together with the professional services and the partners, that's our mode of delivery.
How does digital co-creation help you and your partners make successful changes to your clients' organizations?
So I think it takes two to dance, right? And it takes two to do good co-creation. Of course, customers need to have an idea. They need to have a desire to do some disruptive changes. Usually there are special people inside organizations who are more creative than others, who are more visionary than others. Without these people, there's no co-creation. They are the soul of co-creation. Now, Fujitsu can use then a certain process that leads first to the clarification, let's say, of the idea. Second, to a proof of concept. and later to the implementation. That is sort of the methodology. And in doing that, you need to involve, of course, IT people who will eventually be responsible for keeping the whole thing running. But also you need to involve more people, not just the visionaries, but more people in the organization. This is also part of our methodology. If you don't do that, the visionaries eventually will change and move to the next idea. They will be 1 against 1,000 in their own organization, and it won't go. Organizations will be reluctant to change, they will be conservative, people will be afraid of change. So part of the move into the proof of concept is to be able to show some results, even if they are preliminary, to everyone in the organization, so that these ideas that 1 or 2 guys had actually can be seen by everybody. If you don't have something physical or some system or some app to show, even the rest of the people in the business will not understand what was the idea of this visionary. So our process of co-creation contains all these steps. Starting with the visionaries, produce some material version of it so that the rest of the organization, the customer organization, can see it, and then if the whole plan goes ahead, go into implementation, testing, and rollout.
Could you give an example of successful project using your...
Yeah, there are many of these. This morning I have mentioned quite a few. Let me maybe mention 2 of them. One is the medical records, the use of the medical records to improve the preventive treatment of suicide in psychiatric institutions. Turns out that suicide is a problem in psychiatric institutions, and a very forward-looking group of doctors, actually the visionaries I was talking about, in Hospital San Carlos in Madrid, approached Fujitsu and said, look, we have figured out how this works and what are the dangers or the risk factors for people committing suicide, but it takes us a long meeting. Maybe 3 or 4 or sometimes 8 doctors get together, discuss the case and discuss the latest changes in the patient, and then we decide, oh, so this person is in danger of committing suicide, so then we put a treatment in place. The problem with this is it takes a long time, and you can only maybe review 5 or 6 patients every day when you probably have 100 or 200 in the hospital. So they say, can you help us? So we put together, AI learning with a cloud application and security to make sure that the privacy of the records of patients was not compromised. And we've created a system that is running, it's in production, which helps the doctors in this hospital to detect risk, people at risk. What is the advantage? The advantage is that the doctors take 20 minutes in a meeting to review one case. The system does it in milliseconds. So actually you can every day look at the record, including the latest changes, the latest medicines they've taken. You can look at the 200 patients, and after a few seconds you know if some new risks have happened. So this pushes preventive medicine rather than just treatment of the medicine. I think it's a good example. Another example from Finland is S Group. S Group is a retailer. They have about 1,600 retail shops. And in some of them, in 400 of those, they have gas stations. So the commercial brand, it's called ABC Petrol. And ABC Petrol was a kind of, not the most popular petrol in Finland, and they decided to do something about it. So they've designed we would call it a cloud plus some amount of IoT project where they produce an app. They were very successful, having 600,000 people in Finland downloading the app. The app tells you where is the closest ABC petrol gas station. It tells you which pumps have the kind of fuel you need for your car, which is already you can load it into your app. You get there, you get out of your car, you put whatever, and that's it, you leave. Why? Because the existing applications that manage the pumps and so on have been connected through hybrid IT to the cloud application that is linked to your application in your mobile phone. And by the time you finish, a ticket with the invoice is already on the way to your email. And of course, you predefine your credit card or your bank account, and your transaction is actually accomplished and the payment is done. So by the time you leave the area, the whole thing is finished. You didn't have to pay, use a credit card, talk to anybody or whatever, you drive away. So I think these are two good examples of, let's say, human-centric innovation. Yes.
What kind of technologies are used in such project? I mean, AI, IoT, cloud?
Yeah, maybe I already repeated myself, but again, the toolbox contains a hybrid IT, which in itself contains the traditional products of servers and storage and everything. It contains a cloud, which can be in many different categories. It can be a purely private cloud, it can be a managed private cloud, it can be a public cloud, etc., whatever fits better the business. Also, in the traditional part, the traditional IT where the legacy applications are running are also constantly evolving, because there are new price points in data center, in storage especially, but also in servers, and we are looking into hyper-converged data centers these days, so a much cheaper way of setting up a traditional data center. These are on the hybrid IT. On the IoT, Fujitsu has a range of sensors, has a range of wearables, and also of intelligent tags, because we've discovered that especially in manufacturing, but also in healthcare and some of the areas we are very active, the best from a price performance point of view, the best Internet of Things mechanism is RFID. RFID has existed for, I don't know, 20 years, but also its day has come. The day has come because there is more sensors and there is more intelligence and there is more systems to track where are these RFID tags. So, and Fujitsu has been very active always in RFID and very advanced intelligence tags. So in IoT there is all this. In AI, of course, it's the APIs. It's the APIs either created with the data of customers or created with general data that belongs to Fujitsu. And finally, in security, there's the well-known palm vein technology of biometrics, but also the AI research has produced new ways of detecting cyber threats. It turns out that a new patent of the Fujitsu Labs that represents transaction systems or network systems in a graph data allows to detect anomalies. And the good thing about this is that it can be done by machine. So the anomalies, there is plenty of data to teach machines about these cyber threat anomalies. So you can have machines looking constantly at the traffic of, for example, a big e-commerce platform. And through this transformation in graphical data, the machines can recognize if the pattern of transactions, IPs, type of customers, etc. is normal or is not normal. And in the case it's not normal, of course the machine cannot do really anything yet about it, but it raises the flag, and then a team can track what's going on, if it's what kind of threat it is, and so on. So in all these areas, cloud, IoT, AI, security, I think we have offering, and then of course put together with professional services.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.